Wait,
We're,
we're good, huh? We're on.
we
It's
are.
recording. Perfect. Okay, so this is the first 10 seconds of our interview series that we'll be doing. You and I, Lorianne, how do you feel about it?
A little nervous, but excited at the same time.
So, do you want to tell everybody how are we gonna brand this series of interviews we'll be having? What's the title that you feel it would best suit this series of interviews?
I guess if we think about a common term in business, business as usual, meaning life goes on. We got to keep moving forward. Given in light of what we're currently experiencing with COVID and with this pandemic, I think we should call it business as unusual because it is
Yes.
completely unusual. Everything we are living is unprecedented, and everybody is having to adapt and change and figure out this new world and navigate this new world that we're in. So this is definitely not business as usual. This is business as unusual. So I think that would
Yes.
be kind of an appropriate name for it.
For sure, for sure. So before we get started on this subject, I'd like to present myself. So not everybody on your network knows who I am. I'm Sébastien Lessard. I live in Kapuskasing. I'm a town councillor in Kapuskasing. I've been a councillor for a year and a half, but I'm also a manager for contract training at Collège Boréal. So I actually service many different businesses with their training needs through Collège Boréal, from Timmins, Kapuskasing, and Hearst. So I cover a huge territory. And the reason why I'm really excited about taking part in these interviews, these talks that we'll be having, and I love the title, Business as Unusual. It's basically because myself, with our organization, when I organize training, usually we do it face to face. So we meet with employers, we get a trainer to come in and basically offer their services through Collège Boréal to either increase a workforce competency, or sometimes it's just to do some mandatory training for health and safety purposes. But right now, with the COVID-19 situation that we're living, we can't offer our training the same way that we usually do. So we basically have to put our thinking cap on and define how are we going to move forward in this crisis situation. I would call it a crisis, and not knowing how long it's going to be. I just wanted to start talking about what is it that we're going to do? How are we going to go about servicing businesses and taking in consideration basically the difficulties, the hardships that a lot of businesses are going through. So being able to sit with you today and start this discussion and defining what our talks are going to be all about is going to be really interesting. But before we move forward, a lot of people on my network don't know you. So why don't you take this time to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So I agree. So Lauriane Duguay, I am the owner and sole proprietor of the People Person HR Growth Solutions. I offer a variety of HR services, from the more administrative type services to setting up, an HR kind of solution within your organization that you can manage independently, to the higher, more strategic HR pieces. So, how do you manage performance? How do you build a framework within your organization that'll drive you to that culture of choice, to that place of employment of choice that people will flock to, and increase your retention rates, increase the quality of your hires, increase, decrease the cost of your recruitment, the cost of your turnover, all that fun jazz. So really from a higher level strategic piece, and that's exactly what has brought me to working alongside you, Seb, in that seeing that this is kind of uncharted territory for most employers. I think there's really an opportunity for us, and if not an opportunity, even and more so, kind of it's our duty, if we do have some knowledge, if we do have some tools, some tips, some tricks, if we're able to kind of provide employers and local organizations with added resources to become their resource for all things people, hence people person, but just to help them better manage their people, but to also make sure that in this remote world, in this virtual world that we're, we've been thrust into, we were already moving towards it, but now we've kind of been thrust into it. How can we make the most of it? And how could we actually perhaps even evolve from this crisis, right? The best evolution in society happened from massive crises. So why not take advantage and help employers kind of evolve alongside this crisis to make sure that when we do come out of it, we've actually progressed as an organization, as companies. So.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like one thing that we know right now is a lot of businesses, their operations have just like halted, right? And like you said, they've been thrusted in this new reality. I feel that a lot of people our age are well equipped to manage with what's going on, because the use of technology in our everyday lives is constant, right? It's frequent. So it's something that we've learned to incorporate, and we've learned to adapt quickly. But it's not the reality for every business. I think a lot of business owners that are maybe a generation just above ours, that have to deal with this new reality, and they were contemplating, using automation, using technology, but they've always been fearful of it because they're not really that knowledgeable in using technology, right? But COVID-19, what's happened here is basically it's a game changer, and like for many businesses, these may become desperate times where income has dried up. Of course, there's some subsidies that are out there, but it's not business as usual, like you said. So how do you go about redefining yourself in a moment like this, when you have to take in consideration everything, right? So the people that you may have laid off, that you'll have to bring back, how is it going to be when you come back?
Absolutely.
Right? And what kind of changes are you going to make in this moment right here? So it looks doom and gloom, but at the same time, I just feel it's a great opportunity for a lot of businesses, right? Because we never in regular operations, the way they ran before, you never had the time to stop what you were doing and spend time actually looking at where you're going, how you want to be, how do you evolve, how do you change to be better, right?
Absolutely.
To grow.
And I think the nature of most business owners, especially if I'm thinking about the smaller mom and pop shops, the smaller to medium enterprises, where they've been around for years already, and they're in this mode of production and just business as usual, and to implement or to integrate technology, for example, in a business where it's not necessary, it's not really mandated to actually have, an online presence. It was low on the priority list, right? But the potential of integrating these kinds of tools and bringing your store online, which we're seeing, the smaller mom and pop shops, the local ones here, suddenly offering an online presence because they've not been given a choice with the closures, right? But I think they're going to see so much benefit from broadening their market and from being able to kind of expand on that level and seeing the potential of these tools. But you're right in that. I think because they've not necessarily had to, and in terms of understanding the value of doing so versus the value of just continuing business as usual, usually the decision was pretty easy in that, we need to keep bringing in that revenue. We need to keep working and being productive. So that was never a priority. Now it's been kind of government mandated that, we're kind of, if not halted altogether, we're all operating at a decreased capacity, right? At the end of the day. So why not capitalize on that time? Why not capitalize on that extra time to really, like you said, analyze, develop the vision, understand what is it that I can start shifting right now? What are the things that I can start doing right now? All the while assessing that longer term plan and figuring out where I need to go. Who am I? And how do I want to fit in this new world that's gonna come out at the end of COVID? It will be an entirely new world.
And we don't know how long this is going to last.
Absolutely.
Right? We don't know how long this reality is going to last. So I see it a little bit like the internet phase. Remember when the internet came in and you had a lot of people denying its validity and the kind of impact that it was going to have. And you know, and a lot of people did not transition towards the online presence, right? And they were hesitating. But those that did, that took the time to move on it and to try and incorporate change in their business structure, their business model, they're the ones that won that huge transition period. Now, what we're doing today is basically that, right? So we're using technology that I wasn't that familiar with. Like we're recording this on Teams. You're the one that introduced me to Teams, what, maybe 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And as this was hitting, you were introducing me to Teams where we were doing our meetings on Teams, but then we got thrusted into Teams, into Zoom. And that kind of sparked our idea of, all right, let's bring people along in our discussions and let's try to enlighten them in thinking differently, in taking action differently, and to take advantage of this moment. And how about we tell people how we want to frame our talks and basically what our vision is for this entire period. So like we're doing this, just so people know, we're basically just doing this. We just hit record and you're seeing the results of our discussions.
Completely.
And yeah, and it's a, what's that?
I said much to my worry. It's completely.
Yeah, well, it's just like it. Let's do it, right? Let's do it. Let's talk. And by actually deciding to press record, and we'll be publishing this content, it's kind of forcing us to take action now and to move forward, right? And that's what we want people to do as well.
That's wonderful. That's exactly, that was a great analogy, because that's basically what we're hoping to inspire and to foster in people. Press record. Okay, we're done this whole that part of the phase, like that denial phase that you were saying with the internet, right? We went through that denial phase, that this will be temporary. This will just be for a week or two. Oh, it was 2 weeks initially, right? Everything will go back to normal. Now we're moving into this other phase where, okay, business is not going back to normal, and we don't know when that's going to change. We have no control, little to no control over all those pieces. What do we have control over? Pressing record. How am I going to make this work for me? How am I going to grow from this? And what can we do, you and I, as well as other experts that we talked about bringing in, right? And everything from a health and safety perspective, from, how are we going to proceed in this new world? How are we going to navigate this new world? Finance-wise, admin-wise, how are we going to navigate this? How are we going to rebrand ourselves to really capitalize?
Marketing and communication.
Absolutely. It all starts with pressing record. So that's what we're to get them to do. Absolutely.
Well, that's it. So by pressing record today, we're making ourselves accountable, right? So we have to follow suit with our next conversation. We have no choice now.
These are weekly. We committed to weekly, you and I. We said these are happening at least weekly.
That's it.
In times of change like this, right? Any change management expert will tell you, in times of change, the key kind of one of the key elements of that change initiative is communication. And there is no such thing as too often or too little. Any communication will improve. So in times of change, I think more often than not is important. So that's our plan. We plan on giving you guys at least weekly installments of us.
Well, that's it. Now, one thing that I don't want this to be, though, is just talk to talk, right? I don't want this to be just a conversation that actually people tune in to see Lorianne, to see myself talk about just the subject. At the end, there needs to be tools that are there and available for the people that do decide to listen in, that are interested in making a change, in making a shift, right? This here is basically, these talks are to ignite the desire within different people to make a shift.
I completely agree. And I think they need to walk away from listening to us. If they're going to be patient and listen to us for a half hour or whatever it may be, they need to leave with something they can apply directly afterwards, or at least have a resource that they feel that they're now better equipped to manage.
That's it.
The challenge they were facing. Absolutely.
Now, one thing that we do have, that we can offer right away with our next talk are a network of experts, right? Like we know, and what you do basically is you offer training in HR and in management. I've seen a lot of your trainings, and they are wonderful. They were always offered in face-to-face settings.
Yes,
So definitely we'll have to look at how you can go about helping businesses with their HR and their management in this new shift.
absolutely.
But you may have to do it online, right?
I have to
Virtual,
do it online.
that's
Absolutely.
it. So virtual classrooms and webinars and stuff like that. For myself, with Collège Boréal, we have a plethora of different online courses that we can offer, and we work with different organizations as well that do create online content for training purposes. So, and myself, I have some people that I know as well that I want to bring into our talks. I know you have some people that you want to bring into your talks, where they're going to be able to tell us how to go about operating this shift, whether it is, like you said, in marketing, communication, in finance, in admin, in health and safety, yourself in HR and management. So I'm looking forward to actually bringing on some guests. I don't know how you feel about that.
I'm excited about it. Absolutely. I mean, the more people we can bring in, the more vast kind of that bank of knowledge that we're able to share. And getting these subject matter experts to take part in our conversation will just kind of bring up the validity and the value of these chats. These weekly chats, so that people can literally not only, it won't be just the one HR thing that they're being helped with, right? They'll have access to other things. And when you're saying how we're shifting to this virtual, and yeah, it's completely different, because all the training I've done before, with Everything Disc, a lot of people have taken some of my workshops with the management training, was all in person. But one of the challenges that I actually had was getting people to commit to a full day of training, right? Moving away. So this has kind of come up as me recognizing that, hey, if we use this virtual platform, and if people now are going to be definitely comfortable with these kinds of environments, then that's perfect opportunity for employers to be able to offer additional training to their staff through these virtual platforms. So I'm really excited to be able to share how to use these tools, the Teams of the world, the Zooms of the world as well. There's classroom elements, different classroom type features that you can, develop learning, and your learners will be just as engaged as if they were there in person. But it is a whole other world. And there's a whole managing expectations piece, right? That I'm hoping to be able to help employers with as well. Dead air in class is, that's a killer. That's any trainer's nightmare, is dead air in a class, right? Where sometimes here online, it's because they're typing. It's understanding that dead air does not necessarily equate to nightmare situation. It's actually, they're maybe typing, or they're doing other things, trying to engage in a different way. It's a whole other world.
So what I like about what you're saying is and I share in your opinion, like right now, people are at home, not working. This is the ideal opportunity for them to increase their competency, their skills, the qualities they have as a worker. It's a great opportunity for you to learn how to better manage, how to change your culture, start planning, start strategizing on what you're going to do with your next marketing campaign, your next communication campaign. So like some of the skills that you may, like using Excel in your admin, and in your finance, are you good at it? Like right now is such a great opportunity. So like before we go, I think the for this talk today, of course, right? I think what would be interesting, and it would help us to determine which kind of expert we ask to come on the show, is to get feedback from people. So we'll be sharing this on our Facebook page, on our LinkedIn pages. What kind of training are you interested in having for your employees? So what is the hurt?
I was about to say, what challenges have you encountered since the shift? What is happening that you are looking for answers or solutions? Like, what is it that it's the bane of your existence right now because you have not figured out how to do that well, that in this new world. Absolutely. And I'm excited to see what people are going to, how they're going to comment and what kind of things they're going to bring to our attention. I seen a meme on Facebook the other day. There was something along the lines of, I used to wish I had all this time in the world I had more time to organize my house and clean my house. Now I recognize that apparently that wasn't the issue because people have all this time in the world, right? So this is a similar situation. I want to kind of parallel that meme for here. I know I've spoken to employers that would say, oh, I wish I had time to think about these things. I wish I had more time to kind of strategize and figure out how to do this better, and figure out what's working well, what's not, and how can I do it better. This is their time.
Exactly it. Yeah, it's exactly that. So it's time to clean up what you've done before, tidy up, get rid of what you don't want to make room for what you do want. Absolutely. So I hope that a lot of employers, a lot of organizations have done their cleanup in their heads. They know what they don't want to do moving forward and what they'd love to incorporate into their business, into their workers. So how are we going to come out of this situation should be the questions that they're asking. And that's what I want to hear. That's exactly what I want to hear.
I was going to say, let's be specific in our questions. Like, what is it we want people commenting? We want people answering, giving us feedback. Is, what type of training that they've identified that they need, or what kind of skills seem to be lacking. Their staff seems to be preventing their staff from adapting to this new world. Or maybe they don't even know yet, and that's okay. So maybe their need is actually a needs assessment of sorts, right? They just need to, maybe we can provide them with some key questions to ask to figure out what exactly their needs are. Just tell us what you need, and then, we can go from there to know, like you said, to really target our experts and our guests coming in to chat with us.
Exactly. So I guess for today, I hope people understand that what we're doing is basically presenting ourselves as resources to be able to start a discussion on where you want to go, and where you'd like to be, and then giving us the opportunity to maybe get the resources that you need. Absolutely. And organize some training that you feel will get you to that next level. So how about we share first and foremost our contacts in the description of our video when we do share on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So we'll share our contacts, either whatever you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with my phone number and my email. That's it. And then if you want to private message us, you can. If you want to inspire others and write down your ideas and comments, that's something that you can do, because comments always inspire people to think. And that's what we need to do, right? We need to think outside the box here. So of course, we don't want people to be shy. This is the time. This is it. Right now.
Absolutely. And voice in the way that you're comfortable with. If you're not, you're not comfortable putting it on the post itself, I agree. Message us privately and let us know what you need, and we'll see how we can support you.
Yeah. And like I heard, I was at a conference about a month ago when we used to have those live conferences.
That's a whole other challenge, eh?
I know.
Conferences, and how are we going to do the sharing of expertise and these kind of networking opportunities virtually? That's another show.
Yeah, exactly. And we had an Indigenous guest speaker, and he was asking a question to all the audience. When is the right time to plant a tree? And the answer is obviously 20 years ago was the best time, but the next best time is right now.
Yep.
So we hope that these talks are the first seedlings that we plant in your mind, and that you start growing opportunities for your business. And I look forward to seeing the comments. And finally, I just want to thank you, Lorianne, for actually agreeing to do this. It kind of pushed you into it, right?
Yeah, but you know what? It was always, I was trying to figure out, and I remember when we spoke, I was grappling with how can I support our community of employers, our community of organizations, better navigate this crazy new time we're in. But even before this crazy new time, we were trying to figure out tools to help them better manage generational differences. And so we've shifted our focus for now, but not to say that down the road we won't, get even more specific with the kind of tools we offer. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited to see the comments, and I'm excited to have these weekly chats for sure. And again, this first one was meant as an introduction. I know we're all over the map, but they'll get more and more targeted. Maybe a Teams walkthrough on a next one where how could you use Teams? And here's an example right now. We're going to conduct this whole thing kind of building a little, sample project and whatnot. So
Yeah.
all these kind of different things where they walk away with, okay, no, I know this a bit more, and with questions.
Well, what I like that we've done is we haven't tied ourselves to a format.
Nope.
We pressed record. It gave what it gave today. This is the result of our first conversation. But moving forward, we'll see what people want and we'll adapt. And I think that's the motto of business as unusual.
Exactly.
Adapting.
It's we were already moving towards a more curated kind of user-centric learning model of, oh, you only need this skill, so we'll just you just need this little learning piece and that little learning piece. Well, we're going to do the same thing. We're adapting, and we're going to give them this curated kind of content, but they're going to be dictating what that content looks like based on their needs.
So I think for now it's enough, right? We've been talking for close to 30 minutes already. You see how fast it goes, right? So yeah. So how about we end it there for today?
Sounds
and
good.
Again, people, don't be shy. Comment, give us a call. We'll put the links in the description below, and we look forward to meeting with you and talking with you soon.
And to our next installment next week.
That's it. Business as unusual. Love it.
Name. It's happening.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
There. Stop recording.